Hey Siri, set timer for 20 minutes.
Burn. She ain't on it. She is not on it, fam.
Oh.
Ah, it's just the
Shame.
key. Da, 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 da. Presenting the world famous Irrational Review.
Mate, that was not labelled at all. It was really good. It wasn't. I'm not being sarcastic. I swear it was.
Why
really...
did you say it sarcastically?
It just sounded like you were trying a lot, like trying really hard. Oh, yeah, that's a good way to start. So, welcome to the Irrational Review, episode 1.
Episode 1.
Episode 1, right?
Well, 1.5.
1.5. We're going to pretend like we didn't try this out before and make sure we didn't talk nonsense on the microphones.
Which we did talk nonsense.
There was definitely
did talk
some
some
nonsense.
sense,
talking.
But then
Mostly
we brought some
from you.
some sense in it.
Yeah.
You reined me in, V. You kept me.
That's what I always do, mate.
I like
Yeah.
that quality about you, V. I like that.
Oh, cheers,
Little
fellas.
calming
Fellas.
figure.
Shit.
So yeah,
You're a good
welcome to
guy.
the Irrational Review, episode 1. And I suppose some people will be asking why in the hell we are sat here as 3 gentlemen wanting to talk nonsense on the microphone. And
2
record
gentlemen,
audio.
V.
2 gentlemen.
Sons of goats, mate.
That's cold, man. He's
Yeah, I
a
mean-
gentleman.
Yeah, no,
He's a
but you know,
gentleman.
I was,
I'm
you
the
know what I was
best of the
doing.
lot.
You know what I was doing.
Yeah, know.
I mean, we'll ignore the fact that my trousers aren't long enough for my legs for the moment. But
Well, that's what maybe we'll talk about.
Ain't
this
that the
new
flex?
fashion
Ain't that the
with,
new flex at the moment?
No,
mate?
we're not going there.
There's so much ankle in the world. These
Yeah,
days.
everyone loves
There's
the
a-
ankle at the moment. Ankle and the sock.
I think that's just basically been born out of East London and the whole
No,
idea of...
I'll tell you where it
was
comes from.
born
Japan.
Really?
Japan or Scandinavia. And those 2 styles
Yeah.
of Norwegian or Scandinavian or that side of things, Danish
What is this? Well...
and
Scandinavian.
Japanese,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
like straight lines and like very
symmetry.
sort of very symmetrical, yeah,
Yeah.
like Wes Anderson films and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But so somehow Japanese culture started influencing Norway. Norway started influencing Japan, and now we've left in this middle ground, which is East London, and it's just full of shins.
Yeah, it is, man. Everywhere
Can't
you go.
move.
Everywhere
So-
you go, man.
Hang on a second. I think
Ankles
this
and
is basically, before we go on to our shin talk and ankle business,
Well, that was a surprise talk. I didn't.
I think I should...
I didn't know that was going to come out.
I think I should introduce you two, because at this point everyone's going, why are there these people talking nonsense? I don't know who these people are. And well, I'll start off with Monsieur Vino. Perez
That's
White.
me.
Yeah, this guy here with the flag threads. Look at him.
Oh, well, thanks.
I mean,
well,
they're pretty
you know,
flag.
I like this jacket mostly, but everything else.
Yeah.
I do like that, Jake.
I do
Vino,
love this jacket.
how long have I known you for?
I think since we're 14, maybe 13 years old.
So, I mean,
you
we're not
one
going
like
to go
the
into details.
First
as
people I
to-
met in school, maybe.
Yeah?
And then I met Bobby like, I don't know.
An hour and a half later.
Yeah, literally. Met Tina and then Bobby shortly after.
I'm still furious about it.
What, the fact that I was first?
You should have met me first.
What difference does it make?
Well, I just think I'm more of an influential character.
And that's Vino White, basically interrupted
Hello,
rudely by
folks.
the good chap, Bobby Kane. Bobby Kane, I've known you for a little bit longer. I'd say probably about maybe give or take 10 years longer. I think I was probably about 6 when I met you or something like that.
Yeah.
Round about that. And no mentions of anything to do with Wiki Googles or...
Yeah, no, depending on your Wikipedia career history or whatever it was, bio.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I've known you since you were tiny. I mean,
I'm still tiny.
you're pretty much the same height, but you've grown into yourself.
I'm gonna take that as a
You're
compliment
filled out,
for
mate,
now.
you're filled out.
This jumper says otherwise, but
yeah,
still,
yeah.
I'm going to say these two
years.
human beings are probably the most influential human beings. Did I say that right? Influential, rather. human
Close
beings
enough.
It's a bit like
in my life. It's like when I said octopus.
Octopus.
Octopus. It's
You weirdo.
octopus.
Octopus.
That's the foreign guy in me that still exists, because obviously I wasn't born
it
here.
just pops up every now and again. You go, oh,
And he's like kind of like
it's foreign.
yeah.
You forget sometimes, isn't it?
There's more than 2 words that I can't say, but I mean they'll come across eventually in this podcast that I've started with you guys. And essentially, the reason that I brought you guys together to come down and talk to me about stuff that matters to us is because I felt as though we have interesting conversations that maybe some poor souls would like to listen to.
why not? Give it a little bit of a recording, put it down. Come and visit you at your places of work. Check out the scene.
It's pretty nifty, isn't it?
Yeah, man, I like this one.
Incredibly nifty.
For all those who are wondering where we are at the
Can't
moment,
move
we are
for
in.
knobs.
Where are we? We are in southwest London.
Sorry.
What did you call me for? What?
I know, I
For
said you
knobs.
can't move for knobs.
For knobs.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of
There are
knobs
fair
in
few
this
knobs
room.
in this
I can
room,
think
but-
of two great knobs that control a lot of things.
Hey.
You know what I did there? Come on. That's why I'm sitting in this chair.
Zing.
No, but
yeah.
honestly speaking, if you're all wondering where we are in southwest London at Best Laid Plans home base, and that's the record company that I am signed to alongside Warner Brothers, and all of the people that I've been working on music with for the past couple of years kind of work out of here. And it's a wonderful bass. It's really, really nice. Lots of knobs, as they said, lots of keyboards.
Very pretty studio.
Yeah, and it felt fitting to have a good chat here and put it out to you guys out there. So I hope you enjoy what we begin to talk about. I mean, we were going to start with some really serious things, but seeing as we are here, and my socks to ankle/shin ratio is not quite the one today.
Well, it is if you want to be hip.
I mean,
Yeah, man.
it wasn't even hip. I think these were the only options that I had in the wardrobe. I think more so, rather than talking about my shins and so forth, I wanted to talk about identity.
Yeah.
And when I say identity, I mean, I'll give you an example. I was working with a good chap yesterday by the name of Example. He was a lovely, lovely guy, super, super kind of humble, but very expressive. And he kind of mentioned to me, for the first time of meeting me, he was like, man, when we spoke and by text and stuff and we were organising working together, I just thought you might sound a bit different. You know, I thought you might have a bit of a different accent. And I thought, did he expect me to come across kind of like, you know, a bit more sort of road? And by road, I mean, I don't know, probably speak with a bit more sort of a twang and some slang in my voice? Or did he expect me to sound kind of like deep voiced because my songs are like, everybody speak, or that kind of stuff? I mean, then I thought, identity. Does that mean perhaps when I speak differently to different sets of people according to whoever it is that I'm speaking to?
Social chameleon, you mean?
Yeah, social chameleon. I like that. That's a good term.
Or in the
So-
words of Ian Brown.
Oh, very nice, very nice. What a G, what a G.
Social chameleon, change to suit the people around you.
Yes, but that's exactly it, isn't it? Do
Well, I
you
think we all
think?
do that. You all have to assimilate into the environment you're in.
Yeah.
I obviously have a bit of a London accent, and I wasn't as aware of it until we done our attempt at a practice record.
Yeah.
Where I suddenly realised, oh, I've got quite an accent. So I was like, oh, right. Well,
So did you dumb it down then a little bit?
No,
actually,
I just-
are you dumbing it down now, or are you just
I'm
exactly
trying
who you
to,
are?
I'm aware of it now. I'm definitely aware of it. But like,
So did you go home and your missus was basically like, hang on a minute,
no, she
you
was
played
like, yeah,
it
that's
to
what
her?
you sound like.
Yeah?
An idiot. And I went, oh.
Brutal.
No, but I mean, you have to change to suit the people around you a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
you're not your character or your personality, but, you know, we all do. We all try and, you know, talk to people in a different way. Especially, like, it's like when you got our friend who's come back from New Zealand.
Oh, Tim.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he's suddenly got developed this new
weird.
accent.
Yeah, so a friend of ours who moved away a long, long time ago, every now and again comes back, periodically speaking, probably about once every couple of years, I think it is, to England. And he was just normal, regular London boy. And he came back with this twang, as you say.
Well, and also because he spent so long, not only just in English-speaking countries, he went off travelling for long, that he's learned that sort of European or international way of
The way of
speaking, where it's
speak.
very slow. And when you speak,
Yeah.
you
Yeah, like-
accent words in a strange way that it's a bit like
Yeah.
Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
If he was from Europe,
Yeah.
you choose a strange word to put the accent on, and you're and
yeah.
you suddenly go, mate, why are you talking like
But
that?
that's the question, isn't it? Do you think that he's done that to assimilate into the environment that he's in?
Oh,
And
he
do you think
has to.
that's changed his personality? And by definition of identity, you know, it's a
No,
very broad term.
I don't think it's changed.
But do you
I
think
don't
it's
the
changed
way
him?
you talk is your personality? No,
Yeah?
no. I think your use of language, you can envelop it and play around with it, and that can be a part of your personality.
Yeah.
in some ways, but
Yeah.
I don't think it changes your character. I think your identity, like for you, yeah, you do have you are quite well spoken.
See,
you always have been, but you
I've
always
never
even when
thought
we're
that.
in
In
school,
my mind, I'm like super
yeah, you're
kind of London.
pure road, man.
But I suppose...
No, you're not. So-
I suppose I'm not.
No,
Because
your
every time I
mum
come across a
always
situation...
made sure you spoke properly. I remember when we were
Yeah,
kids.
but there you go. You just said properly. And I think
Oh yeah.
that's broad, isn't it? And I keep kind of attuning that to, or likening that to identity, because I'll give you an example, actually. I'll give you a scenario. So when I go to get a haircut, which is not today, because that's what, I've got a hat on for a reason. When I go to get a haircut and I sit down in the barber's chair, in the particular barbershop that I might go to, it's very, very kind of like, normally it's an Afro-Caribbean barbershop. Normally Afro-Caribbean sort of barbers, and the clientele is of the same. And, it's a mixed place. There's no sort of like, there's no real sort of animosity towards somebody coming in and of different colour creed or whatever it may be.
Except for that one time when I came here. And I've never seen...
That one time that you did come down.
This is reversed.
That's funny. That's hilarious.
Yeah, no, it was an awkward moment.
You did walk in with KFC into the barbershop, and then everyone took a little...
You walk into the barbershop with food, particularly that barbershop.
He made me go and get KFC. I didn't eat it. I just had to sit in the bag. I wasn't sitting there like chewing it. He went, go and get KFC. I'm going to get my hair cut. Yeah. Got the KFC. He was still in the queue. He wasn't even sat down yet. I was like, oh. Went in and just this shock of rage.
It wasn't. I think you're exaggerating.
No, it wasn't. It was definitely like everyone was like,
are you trimming or not? Is what they were looking at you.
Yeah, exactly. That's what was going on.
Yeah.
So it's the same barbershop that you go to, all the time, right?
When guys come in and they're like, are you trimming or are you looking for somebody?
Yeah.
But I went over and sat with him and I went, I'm obviously with this.
Yeah, but then I tell you what, the reason I brought up the barbershop example is because of the fact that when I go into my barbershop, actually, I've changed barbershop since then. Not for the fact that we brought in, not because I brought in Bobby.
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden they're like, bro, you can't come in here with this guy. You can't come in here with this guy. It was more the fact that I was living in a different place and, I just felt like changing it. But when I go into this place, it's probably far more African than it is sort of Caribbean clientele. And when I start speaking, if I say anything to the barber or if I say anything to anyone in the shop, because normally there's a lot of banter and kind of, that kind of barbershop, people will definitely double take at me and they'll speak to me differently. And and I'm kind of thinking, hang on a minute, is this making me feel odd because I'm not quite sure what my identity is in this situation? Because I suppose if you want to call it being worldly, I've always hung around all different types of sets of people. But it just got me thinking about
who do you identify as, and then you just got to think. Say whoever you identify as, and then just own that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's a good point.
The weird thing is with you, V, like V's one of the few guys I know. You listen to him talk, he sounds like a normal London guy. Yeah. And then you'll suddenly walk down the road, you'll bump into like his cousin or something. Yeah. Next thing you know, bam, the Caribbean accent just comes out. And it's like a whole different person.
I totally know that, and I'm sure I've done it as well. And I'm not even anywhere near Caribbean. I'm saying, I mean, I can't there.
All the time.
You can't get away with that.
Yeah, but then I think to try and make people feel comfortable, I think we naturally do that.
That made me feel very uncomfortable. What you just did then was just wrong. I just thought, like, no.
Just shoot that down.
Yeah. No,
Come on, man. I mean,
it was good. I felt like I was definitely in Cool Runnings.
Cool Runnings. Feel that rhythm.
But
great movie, by the way.
Weird,
that was a wicked movie.
But this is what I'm like in terms of identity. Then,
yeah. Am I just confusing the term?
I don't know what the point is you're trying to make, because identity is who you identify as. Yeah. So who you consider yourself. So for me, I'm aware of like how I sound. I'm more aware of it now, but like I always knew that this is my personality and this is who I am. So, but I don't really change it for people. I'm very much like I'm set in my ways about it. I don't have any gripes about it. Yeah. But I think people who are slightly underconfident or more keen on pleasing people and not. That's the ones that they lose their identity in trying to identify with whoever that they're talking to or whoever they're trying to impress or hang about with. So you often see people like completely assimilate into someone else's culture or whatever, just to try and because they don't have a fixed identity themselves. And I think I've always wondered who do you identify as V, like. Do you like identify yourself now? You've been in England so long. Which is your normal voice?
So
that's a good question.
You know what I mean? What's your like?
It's this voice, this mode of communication I'm using at the moment is genuinely how I think in my head, how I speak in my head.
Dream.
Generally dreaming the same thing as well, but when I'm angry and highly annoyed or I need to get aggressive. I will switch it up to that.
That just shows how rarely you get aggressive.
To that island accent.
I've never heard you ever switch to the island accent ever in front of me or us lot as a group. Yeah. But I've seen you go immediately there whenever you meet anyone from the islands.
It's a like you said, it's a cultural thing, man. I grew up in the Caribbean. I spent most of my childhood in the Caribbean, and moving to England. it was a sudden thing for me. So it wasn't like we're going to England next year. It's like, no, we're going to England in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Get ready.
Yeah.
Turn up in England and hear how everybody speaks. My like your mum, my mum was always keen on us to speak properly, enunciate.
Yes, and I think that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
For me personally, anyway.
I remember your mum going, no.
Yeah, you can't do that. You can't do it. It's less of the patois. I mean, now that I'm older and she knows I can, speak properly or speak to people, anybody, anywhere, and get my message across. She's like, whatever. To between the two of us, sometimes we sat joking, and I'm full on patois, and she's full on English lady. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do find it hilarious. So she's talking back at me. It's like a kid speaking to his mum in Spanish, and she's speaking back to him in English because he's learning Spanish, trying to get his Spanish spot on, and she's got her Spanish down, and she feels I want to talk to you in English because this is what I do every day.
Yeah.
So I mean, it all depends on who I'm talking to and what the situation is, but generally, this is the guy that you're. So this is the voice and the accent.
Would you say you identify yourself then as a British dude?
I'm definitely a British dude because again, from where I'm from in the world, it's definitely part of the whole British setup. But I personally,
Irish.
Oh, and with an Irish twist to it because it's the
where you from? Where you from?
the Emerald Isle of the Caribbean, a place called Montserrat.
Okay,
they got like the Irish flag. And
Erin
there's
on the front.
Documentaries. But there's documentaries.
What just happened to you?
I heard a noise. I didn't know what it was. No, but
that was very interesting.
There was just like, do we talk about that?
If you're not watching the podcast video of this situation right now, Bobby was trying to explain something just then, and he kind of flinched and did some weird sound.
No, you made a noise.
I made a noise.
You came out of you, and I was like,
I made a noise. Did that come out of me?
Yeah.
There you go. That's part of my identity. Don't mess with my identity, man.
The mic stand.
Right, you thought. I see. Go on, hit me. So you're saying?
Lost your train of thought.
All right. Since you're kind of regaining your train of thought, it's interesting.
Ireland. Yeah, Irish people.
That's what I'm going to. Yeah,
like the Caribbean accent.
Yeah.
Is heavily from Irish immigrants that were sent out there as sort of slaves. But like they were part of the Irish workers force, the workforce, and so the Caribbean accent is heavily like influenced by Irish people,
and that's Welsh as well.
Irish and Welsh, yeah. So when you hear the patois and all that sort of stuff, you see heavy similarities between like deep Irish and like the traditional Caribbean accent. And it's the same as Australians. They come from like London convicts, and they're just an exaggerated version of London. So like you go, it's just like the more Australian you get, it's like Essex, like really nice
sort of thing, right?
They start going down that road.
But this is the thing, when you start, digging into it, identity and people who feel as though, or people who feel aggrieved about people trying to steal identity by those kind of terms is almost ridiculous because really and truly.
What you mean, like appropriation?
Yeah, if we want to go there,
appropriation or identity. Because the thing about identity, this is what I was trying to say to you.
Yeah, let's devise a way of differentiating between the two.
Is if Exhibit goes to, was that what it was?
Yeah, example.
Exhibit. Shout out to Elliot. You got a name change.
So example, if he goes to you, oh, you don't sound like I imagine you sound, right? That's not a reference to your identity. That's just because he's
no, it wasn't what he was saying, but then it made me think about my identity, like who or
you're
what.
Still,
you're
still the little guy who turns up, and you're still the guy who talks like that.
Yeah.
That we all create an image in our head.
Yeah.
How often is it that you're on the phone to someone, like a call centre person or like that, and you can't help you create an image of the person you're talking to, and it's never who you think it is.
I used to get that all the time. Like I used to work on the telephones, and this one American client came over to England, and I went to meet him. And he couldn't believe it when I walked in the room because he was expecting a tall white guy, and in comes this short white fella
because the classic. So you put the phone voice.
It blew his mind. And like for a good 10 minutes, he's
got
like
a lot of bass in your voice. I would imagine.
A lot of people think I'm taller than I actually am.
I would imagine.
People think you're taller than you actually are.
Yeah.
Because you've got a Barry White kind of voice. Whereas to use that an analogy as an example. You keep referring to me as little man, and I sing with a big voice as opposed to a degree sometimes.
Yeah.
So I think
he's a little man.
I'm not that little.
He's little man.
He's little man.
Do you just go around calling people? Oh, I am a little man, and he's the little man. Whichever
but
or.
I'm an inch taller.
But it's all basically based on assumptions, isn't it? At the end of the day. But I love the idea that perhaps
that's not your identity.
No, but then digging deeper into it, when I have this situation occur to me, I always think to myself, hang on a minute, is my identity or the way that I morph in and out of speaking differently to people is that a part of it because of things that have happened to me in history and so forth. It's open to debate, isn't it?
Yes,
yeah,
and
life
no,
experience guides you to how you interact with people.
Definitely.
Yeah, but that's not who your identity is. I think that identity is solid. That's who you are.
Yeah.
Right. Identity is
who you are.
Your actual. Your persona. That's who you are.
Not the stuff you pretend to be or
exactly. You know, just how you interact with people. That's how you manifest that character in public. You know what I mean? But your identity doesn't change. I don't think you can actually. You have an option about your identity. I think, but people are underconfident in it, and they shy away from owning their identity and just going, you know what? For all its faults or whatever it is, it's who I am, and this is what I am going to be like.
Okay, let me give it to you in a different way. Then, in that case, social media. And identity, put the two together, and then the kind of current world that we're living in.
This is the thing.
At the second,
it's created us. We are schizophrenics now.
Yeah.
This is what I've said to you before.
Yeah.
We've created two personas now. Now you have an online personality and an online identity, and and a real life identity.
Yeah.
Like you'll have those people like that go out of a night out, and if you went on their social media, looks like these guys are having the whale of a time. They are out there, they're hanging out with people, they're talkative, they're out at the most cool parties and all this sort of stuff. And then you cut to reality, and those snapshots are exactly that. They are snapshots of a moment where someone is creating this illusion that they're much happier than they are, that they're much more social than they are, and it's created this weird schizophrenic lifestyle where we have yourself. And then you have your online self. So you have all these photos of someone. You go out on a night out, and no one's looking at what you're looking at. They're all looking at the camera, and they're looking at themselves. And through the camera, that's how they manifest themselves.
Yeah, I've caught myself doing it so many times. And I think we've spoken about this before. I've caught myself looking through my camera at the thing that I'm trying to really enjoy in front of me, and that's
my head in.
The only thing that does me that I like when they do that is when you're at a gig, and like we said, I'm not the tallest fella. Sometimes you can watch it through someone's phone, especially if they've got a really good camera. Like it does help, so you can actually see the stage if you're a little person.
I can imagine. I've never thought of it like that,
mate. It makes a world of a difference.
I work in a venue now, and I'm watching gigs.
Yeah,
it depresses me now, right? Because like. Not the small people I'm talking about. Not normal sized people.
Normal sized people.
We're all the normal height.
You're part of the problem, Bobby. You're part of the problem.
We're all average height. I'm a little fella. I'm not going to lie.
I mean, I'm standing tall at 5'8". I mean,
we won't talk about
the lies that are coming out of my mouth. Is that what is it?
Exactly. Yeah, we're all sat down, so the internet can't tell.
That's right, internet.
Yeah, but no, you go to these gigs and you see these people, and they film every single song.
Yeah,
they stand there rigid. Not just looking through the phone, like just glance your eyes slightly past the phone and
get the whole thing.
Remember it. But I think in the future we ain't gonna have any kind of memory at all because we just relied on everything going on data. Everything's on data.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, did anyone see that thing about we run out of data?
What?
They don't know how to store all this shit anymore.
So hang on, you're telling me we've run out of places to store?
They don't know how to store because we're creating data quicker than ever
on an
before.
Exponential kind of level, isn't it?
It's ridiculous now. If you think everyone now, where in the old days there was just a few limited computers and data, now memory, everyone's phone on clouds. You've got these clouds.
Dude, I tell you what. The other day I had to buy membership to a certain kind of cloud because I realised I had so much stuff on my computer. And I'm talking like terabytes, which is hundreds and hundreds of gigs, I imagine, or isn't it 1,000 gigs?
So that's got to be stored somewhere.
So you don't think about where that goes, obviously, but it physically ends up somewhere, doesn't it? On a deck,
so
even
now,
if it's one of these.
The new future is how can we store technology in a different way? And like, so you've seen this madness about. I don't know if it was an April Fool's though. Some dudes managed to transfer it into DNA,
like a biological thing.
Yeah,
because that's the next step.
You change
data into DNA.
Yeah, so you change the ones and zeros of a digital setup into a liquid form of DNA, sense. Like a DNA strand, which is just a series of letters. You go from ones and zeros to a series of letters, and then what you can do is you can break that down, and it goes into a liquid form, and it turns into a tiny little vial.
Wow!
And that goes into thing, and then you've got a computer that reads the DNA and transfers it back into. Digital coding.
Some Star Trek shit.
But I'm just talking about this is what we're going to have to be doing. This will be the new frontier.
But it's funny. I know I keep bringing it up, but then it's interesting to come back round to the fact that we've ended up on social media, information and data. is, or are all these elements of our lives that we are so plugged into taking away the idea of identity and taking away the soul, as it were, of what we are and who we are? For example, I mean, I remember being younger and who I hang out with, and me phoning them or me speaking to them was really important, or conversations were important. I remember them in a certain way. But I can tell you right now, I must have some kind of section in my memory where it's almost like the trash can on my MacBook, where things happen, they occur, and I just kind of like delete them after they've happened. And it takes me a long time to recall these moments and so forth. But without kind of going off into a tangent, I guess what I'm saying is, as we go further and further into technological advancements and we are relying more heavily on our technology, are we losing the idea of, are we losing a sense of caring about people and their identities? And
I think so.
It's made us narcissistic. Yeah. It's made us egotistical.
And super cynical. A lot of people are super cynical now.
If we're egocentric, the ego is now the foremost part of a personality. So the ego and who you create and your personality is who you are now. Whereas the ego used to be a part of the character, but now the ego is what you brag about, what you tell people about, and all that sort of stuff. Is at the forefront of what everyone considers the credible part of your personality. Yep. So if you meet someone, what does everyone do now? When you meet people, you have like a sparring match of bragging. Yeah. Like they go, and you meet someone and they're like, I do this now, and you go, it's like when you meet, it's like an exaggerated version of if you went back to a school reunion and you meet people and they're like, oh, what are you doing now? And you're like, oh, well, I'm doing this. And like, well, I've recently just bought a new car and I've done this. Oh, well, I've just moved flat. I've just done this. And everyone has this sparring match. But now on a general day-to-day interaction, on like people when they go on first dates and like that TV show, first question is, what do you do? What have you done? Where are you going? What are you doing? But these questions.
Sorry to interrupt, but how's that changed? I mean, I'm sure when Jane and whoever the hell were bashing things over their head when just trading them back to the cave,
Jane,
isn't it?
Tarzan, Jane, I'm just picking a random name here, and of course it's not the right era. But I'm saying, essentially, when we began as man. Surely, instead of showing off about what kind of car I've got, I would have showed off about what kind of club I've got and how many fish I've caught recently.
We've used it as an influencer. Like, you look at us, like, our natural... We're like those birds that do a dance, the birds of paradise, whatever they're called. To try and attract women, you know what I mean? We puff out our chests and we're all peacocking. It's called peacocking.
Yeah.
So that's what we do. That's standard. That's part of every mating ritual and all that sort of stuff. But now we've created this sort of what's considered success. So fame used to be determined by a skill, and you became famous for something.
Yeah.
And so you were admired for something. And so fame was something that everyone wanted to get, but to get that, you had to develop some sort of skill.
Yeah.
Then suddenly the focus started being on, no, just be famous, to be in the public eye. So now people are willing to do anything to get in the public eye. And then they regain people's respect again. It's like everyone loses their respect for that person, but then they still aspire to be that person. Like the people out of Only Way is Essex, or they go on Celebrity Jungle Island or whatever it's called. Do you know what I mean? And they embarrass the shit out of themselves. They make themselves look like idiots. They
will be on TV next week.
Eat fucking kangaroo dicks and all this sort of stuff. And everyone's like, oh, gross. And so everyone loses their respect for people. But you can't help. Everyone still admires these people.
Do you know what?
Because they want to aspire to
this
be
is
famous.
The thing, but it all ties back into the idea of people wanting to... You say aspire to be these people that they see on television that are put across. But to put it into terms of social media and all the other avenues that we then start to expose ourselves and copying people's ways of doing stuff. The pout. You know, do you ever see?
Oh,
I would love to know where on earth the pout began, because I cannot. I mean, some people will name nameless here, but I'm sure I've been in a relationship with somebody at some point who was an expert at the pout. But I used to always wonder, when did it begin? And I'm sure it started from. It's got to have started from something that was seen on television or massively exposed.
People considered the pout, it was the kissing lips, the full lips.
Yeah.
So they associated like people blowing kisses and all that sort of stuff with and that suggestive, sort of look of whatever it is that they used to do in all the old like lipstick thingies and Marilyn Monroe and all that sort of stuff. But back in the day when we only had camera film, and we couldn't be wasting a million photos of people just focusing on themselves and becoming egotistical. So now, because these girls are like, people are taking thousands of photos of themselves a week, consistently. Yeah. So that they've aspired to have this thing of cheekbones and full lips. So they I'll be driving. I went away for the weekend with the missus. I'm driving, it's a motorway and all that, we're listening to tunes, and I think we're having a good time. I look over, all she's doing is just photographing her face and doing pouts. And I'm like, what are you doing?
But then, what did she say as an answer? Because I'd love to know.
She just goes, leave me alone, I'm having fun. I'm like, what?
It's
I know, all right, fair enough. I mean, if she's having fun, I can't
understand
it. Definitely.
But then, again, identity. That's not her, though, is it? That's not the person that you would have, and all respect to your missus, who's lovely, jubbly. Nice. Disclaimer, love her. Love you very much.
Watch it.
You watch it. But that's not her as a person.
Not, but it's become
that's not her
standard practice now.
Yeah.
You'll go to the shops and you'll see just someone photographing themselves and at a bus stop or anywhere.
But the ones at the bus stop make me laugh though.
But it's what people do now. It's a thing. It's become so now entrenched in our normal day-to-day lives that we won't change.
Do you know what? You made me think of something actually. If you guys kind of peeked what Jim Carrey's been on for a while. Jim Carrey?
I think he's on some. I recently watched a documentary with him. Not a documentary, like he met Seinfeld and had a cup of tea, and he's now an artist, and also
I've seen his art.
I mean, yeah, it's all right. It's a bit Banksy.
Yeah, the one about what's his face.
But why? What's he been on?
Well, Jim Carrey comes out with some interesting little comments and statements.
He went from sounding like a guru at one point.
Because he got really philosophical about things that he thought about life and the reasons why he just stuff relating to fame and again identity
and what's important and what's not.
Yeah, and he said something about I've got to find it and I'll put it up in here and see if we can play it. But when you live so long being that version of yourself that isn't you, and then you have to go to your grave without that version that is of yourself, you find it very, very hard to understand why you spent so long being somebody else when really and truly you would have lived a much better life.
Just being yourself.
Being yourself. It's something along those lines. And it was he said it in a very cryptic way that, people would just be like, nope, you're a whack job. You lost your mind, that kind of thing. But it just made me think,
that's true though.
As I get older, and you lot might know it was my birthday yesterday. You don't, because you didn't phone me, motherfucker, did you?
I was at work.
Oh, did you see the quick response excuse?
Shit, was it?
Quick response excuse. It was lovely.
Next week,
he saved it. He was like,
the day after
I was saying they were my best friends, but I mean,
4 days.
Yeah, I mean, we are at the age now where I don't really care. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because I know it hurt you the most because you always remember. But I love how I brought that up. But it was my birthday yesterday, and it's a big old number. Oh, come on.
I phoned you, we just didn't mention
Did you phone me?
Yeah, we
spoke. You didn't phone me?
Yeah, we spoke yesterday.
Did we speak on the phone?
Yeah.
Oh, see? Age. Getting older. It's my birthday. No, but what was the point I was trying to make it? Essentially...
Oh, my word.
It's really... Don't worry about it. It's fine. But it made me think, right? Things I used to care about before just aren't the same now, basically. It's growing up. It's growing up, but...
It's growing up.
You're not supposed to, man.
All up, like we used to not give it. Like me and you used to climb up on shed roofs, and our biggest day, our objective of the day was to just climb up on a roof, jump off it. That was our whole day plan, and that was all we cared about. And then then later on you get through little things of and then we all start on our attempts at careers and our early stage things. When we're trying to find ourselves, some of us end up dancing on podiums. Some of us.
I can't believe you brought that up.
Some of us end up.
Okay, I'm just going to put this elephant that's in the room just out and show everyone. Basically, a long time ago, I used to do a bit of breakdancing. And these guys once witnessed me doing some interesting dancing in a bar when I moved away for a long period of time. And I came back and I showed them my new skills.
I missed that.
Were you not there?
I heard about the story, but I
was sure you were there.
He was there, but I couldn't make it out.
No, just me and you and...
He told me the story afterwards, though.
Long story short, for everyone at home who doesn't really understand what the hell...
it was like that episode of The Office when David Brent... starts to
So I've moved away to like the Channel Islands or something and got a job in a nightclub working as a breakdancer, and I danced in the club and got paid money for it. Good money, I have to say, as well. as you know, just something I did, and
So
I came
right
back and I
now-
kind of showed these guys what I was up to.
This is what I'm
and
talking about. In my head, the image I'm creating is you wearing those go-go boots. You know, the fluffy ones, dancing in like a neon.
I can't believe you.
Neon sort of podium.
Like it's top of the pops or some shit.
But that's what I'm talking about. So what you build up in your head isn't necessarily a reality. You know what I mean?
Yeah, true,
But that's
true.
what I've
What
got-
you see is
I've
what.
just now
I can't believe you brought that.
changed history. I didn't mean to bring it up. It just these things come out.
That's funny.
Thing is, when I think of identity, that's the stuff that I think of, and perhaps I've got it by definition the wrong way around. But it's funny when you think of the things that you used to do in your younger self, even if you're 20 and you remember the way that you used to feel about music or the way that you used to feel about anything that mattered to you. And I think that's the beauty of being a human being, the fact that we do change continuously. But I think it's important to always remember who you are and where you've come from.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely.
Because it then informs who you are now and how you can, you know, fix or
And
do better.
Adjust,
really.
yeah.
Yeah, and embrace that person that you are who you want to be.
Yeah.
Not necessarily where you want to be or how you want to be that person, but you are who you want to be. If you want to be a more loving person, whatever, that's because you are a loving person. If you want to be a more snide person, that's because you're a snide person. Like, you are who you want to be, but you might not be where you want to be or how you want to be. But it's embracing that idea of, you know what, the person I am is the person I am, and I've created that character out of all my life experiences, all my influences, and all that sort of stuff, and just being proud of that person. That's why it's not. People always think I'm a bit cocky or I'm a little bit confident. I'm not uber confident, but I've just realised who I am, and I'm happy with that person. You know
I used to get that when I was younger. I used to get called arrogant. That's because I was just content in being myself. I was used to just do what I wanted. Like, I was happy being me, and like if I didn't want to do it, I didn't want to do it. Like, there's no two ways about it.
More power to that, though. Be happy with who you are, and if other people don't like it, you know, that's their business. But as long as you know yourself, I think it's important to always know yourself and be.
Just remember to be polite when you need to be polite. That's what I think.
Well, yeah, considerate. I reckon a personality trait that we're losing is empathy and consideration. Empathy is definitely on the fade out because we're so used to quick snapping at people.
Snapback, innit?
Like, and the stuff that comes out on Facebook now, and you see like the trolling and all this sort of stuff, is because people. It's so easy. Empathy is considered weakness in some places, and the stuff when someone goes, "Oh, I've had this horrible experience," and part of you goes, "Oh, why are you putting it on social media?" Like, you know, whatever, and then the other part of me goes, "Oh, mate, I feel really bad for you. Like, I'm empathetic to your situation." But you notice lots of people's first reaction is just, "Fuck you."
Snap back.
Why the fuck are you giving us all this? And,
but that's it. Just again, I think the empathy being taken away is down to what we keep sort of skipping around. Really, it's the removal of the ability to look into situations without the use of technology or skip past stuff and have everything being shoved back into random access, disposable memory, if you want to call it that.
If you can't see me,
anonymity,
if you can't see me, like, I can say whatever the hell I want.
And I fully expect.
Truth be told, like, you have no idea what I look like, so you don't know how to really react per se. So you know you can be and do whatever you want when you're anonymous, like, really. And it's the case of the internet and social media in particular at the moment, because you can put the sweetest video up online and you'll get the nastiest comments afterwards because no one has any idea who you are. So there's no instant backlash on you there and
you're
then.
Not gonna get
I mean, I hesitated about doing this because of the subject matters that I wanted to talk about and because of the job that I do. I imagine that I might have a bigger audience than one or two of my friends or whatever. And I imagine that everything that I say or everything that you guys might say, people won't agree with. And because we're putting this up on some sort of medium for it to be listened to for us, it's wanting to spark debate and conversation and to just, you know, an excuse for us to hang out.
But they will guarantee you
there will be somebody who says something
there'll be violent hate and there'll be people who disagree, like, full-heartedly with everything we're saying, and they will react in a number of ways. You're going to get people like, you know.
I mean, I sorry to interrupt you, but I don't even want to think about it as if, not to say that it's egotistical of me to think, oh yeah, lots of people would watch it and so forth, but I think I would rather do this and have a conversation about things, and perhaps one day you might come with an opinion about something that I have. You know, I think completely opposite about, and then you convince me to think otherwise. I would rather do this than send you a text message or a video post of something that's happening and say, oh, that's really, really poor because this is happening or whatever. And I'm no kind of, you know,
bring back the actual face-to-face debate.
Yeah, the actual face-to-face conversation, and that's why I think it's good to talk. BT had that right. I'm telling you, they had that stuff right. It's good to talk, and I think essentially what I'm trying to say is people are losing. Some people are losing
skills. Yeah.
social skills.
Yeah. This is social media. It's ironic that social media is what's going to be the downfall of social skills.
But I love it so much.
Well, everyone does. I mean,
I honestly tell you right now, when I go home, even during random parts of my day, I'll think to myself, "Oh, you know what I'm gonna do when I get home? Have a real good look at Instagram and see what's going on. See how many people I've you know."
Yeah,
I want to say touched, but that would probably sound very odd.
That's different now because you're invested. Your business has to incorporate that particular aspect
also,
of it.
You're addicted to the like. You got that addiction to the endorphin giver. Is the little thumbs up.
Yeah.
The
The
little blue
dopamine hit of
thumbs
the
up.
ode.
Yeah. Random, vacant somebody.
Yeah, individual goes, "Oh, like
you for something," and like people count that more than they count like a genuine like congratulations or a happy birthday message from a friend. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, that's because your friends could bullshit you.
Do you know, I wanted to
More
find
likely
some
to
sort of a rebuke to that, but there isn't, because
No, it's true.
really and truly, I think I wouldn't say addicted, but I definitely enjoy something about it. And that's broad. I think it's a broad feeling for lots of people that I know. And it's not something that's easy to admit.
Well, I mean, it gives a lot of people, like, for mental health nowadays, you have lots of people who feel isolated and they use social media as an outreach system to, like, communicate with people, and they need the likes. They put themselves out in a really vulnerable, like, scary position, really, where they rely on those likes so much so that it's worrying how it's affecting young people today, because it's that.
I think
that
that's
need,
a good thing, an important thing to bring up. You're quite right there.
It's like a young lady from in America the other day that went and shut up YouTube. Like,
oh gosh, did you hear about this?
Yeah. They took away.
loosely heard it.
Essentially, they took away her audience from her, putting new restrictions, new algorithms, whatever. But it just happened to work out that her audience numbers fell, and she felt that in a pocket and personally as well. So she decided, she lost her mind, totally lost the marbles, and decided, I'm going to go shoot the place up because it's YouTube's fault why people aren't interested in me anymore or coming to see me every day or in the numbers that they used to. And that, and sadly enough, is affecting more people like that every day. It's just that a lot of them haven't been pushed far enough to pick up a gun and go shoot up.
Well, it's the thing is,
lots of people are getting.
They are. Yeah,
like more than ever.
To me, I heard what you just said then. Sort of somebody went to YouTube and shot somebody up, and I was like, "Oh my god, yeah!" But in my mind, I was thinking, "Yeah, that's pretty similar to something that I've heard that's happened quite recently. I'm sure, because somebody's going to lose their marbles about whatever." And it's social media. It's a video, and it's something that's maybe matters very much to her. I don't know what the video was
definitely her outlet.
But this is the
that
point
shadow
where all of a sudden people are now, that's their focus. Like they like their validation for themselves as people and as personalities and human beings. They take their full value, and everything is all from however many likes they get. So they pop a video, and then they will spend the next, I guarantee you, 2-3 weeks just clicking to see how many likes they've got, how many plays they've had, and everyone's guilty of this. Everyone nowadays, whenever you load a video, you can't help going, oh, it's gone up by 10,000 views. Now we relate someone's success or someone's value in society by this blogger has 9,000 views, this video has 10 million hits, and all of a sudden you're like, what's great about the platform is it gives people from nowhere and no backing behind them a platform of voice.
Yeah, that same thing happened for me. I put something up and then somebody liked it, and then there was a wave of people liking something, and that's brilliant. It's put food on my table.
But what's worrying is when someone starts to, who has a vulnerability through their mental health, when they start relying on those dopamine hits and those likes to continue wanting to live. Like, with the amount of suicides that have gone up, I don't want to go too dark about all this sort of stuff, but the amount of suicides amongst young people, because young people, there's trolling, and then also there's people who just, they're not getting any likes, and that's where they get their whole value from, so they don't feel valuable, they don't feel like they're, it's like there was that episode of South Park years ago where, like, one of them's got no friends. This one guy's just got no friends at all, and then one guy who's got loads of friends makes friends with the guy with no friends, and ends up losing all his friends. And
that sounds a bit familiar. Can't remember the exact episode, but
for them to make a parody of that is quite telling.
Yeah, and it's the need where someone goes all of a sudden the way they turned on this guy for liking this person with no friends. Yeah. It's like that episode of Black Mirror where like everyone's valued on how many likes they get.
That was a scary episode.
All of a sudden you have one bad day and you get a taxi driver says,
that was a messed up episode.
Doesn't like you, gives you a bad rating.
Takes away your ratings.
Yeah. You walk into work and you bump into someone in the lift, they give you a bad rating. Next thing you know,
if it was like that.
Job.
We're saying that.
Just drop down the scale further.
But it's going there. It honestly is, and I don't want to sound like a grumpy old bastard, but fine, I'm a grumpy old bastard. Because that's just the way that it is. It's sad because that's why I go outside and start smelling trees and shit. Like not because I'm strange.
You are a little bit strange.
But in the sense that we have to hang on to these very, very simple things that we started off with to just keep you grounded. I'm sure there was this kind of statement about how every now and again you should take your shoes off and stick your feet on the ground to just earth you back into the system. Because the things that we care about sometimes, the things that we place such emphasis on, are never necessarily that important. Mm-hmm. It's very, very general comment to make, but the things that we place such emphasis on, technologically speaking, social media wise, or the things that we are almost kind of like fed via whatever advertising stream, or whatever kind of like medium that we mostly interact with. I feel like some stuff is just planted in me, and it's just good to get back to basics every now and again and really think to yourself.
Like nowadays, you know what they're doing now? They do retreats where it's a technological retreat where we used to use technology to escape from our reality, and now we use reality to escape from technology. Where people go, they pay a load of money, like loads of money, to go and sit in a room in the middle of nowhere with no technical machines or gadgets, and there's no Wi-Fi, there's no radio signal, a phone signal, anything. So you can't, even if your addiction is like, because people are so addicted to it, and they leave people in these sort of like you can go with groups or isolation things, and people pay through the nose to escape the trap of technology. And that's how weird is that we've gone.
Put your phone in the thing, turn it off, go for a walk,
give it to somebody you know, and say, hold that for me for a couple of hours and come back.
Thing is though, for all the negative that I keep kind of ploughing towards, technology and all the other kind of stuff, it does help to bring people closer, and it's big positives. And I think it's just important to always make sure if there's a message for me, it's just to make sure that you have a balance. I think life is all about that kind of balance, because if you look at most kind of social problems, whether you're thinking in I don't know, in political affairs and such, it's because everything's unbalanced and there's too much of an emphasis on some kind of either it's wealth, greed, it's resources and so forth. You can really think about it and trace it back down to a lot of stuff, and it says balance, really, in my personal opinion. Anyway.
No, it has to be balanced. I think that's what I think that we should, in the future, have a more responsibility in schools teaching young people the balance of
what is it?
Weighing up things that you want and weighing up things you need with and having a conscious effect on the young people in the future of like going, no, you know what, you need to value the balance of life. Everything in small measures. You know, they used to say that always.
Yeah, everything in small measures.
Everything in small doses. Good.
Everything in moderation.
I don't.
Yeah, that was a line I used to get.
Everything in moderation.
Everything in moderation.
But, like, I don't think
it easy.
You see young people these days are just so
spoiled.
They get everything too quick, and so it's starting to really affect on people. But yeah, everything. I mean, there is positives in every part of it. I mean, I normally know everyone's birthdays. Because Facebook tells me. Because Facebook tells me. No, but generally,
okay.
I wake up
so
every
basically,
morning and I look on Facebook and I go, "That's who." I haven't got a memory.
I think I might have turned off that feature that allows for people to know when my bloody birthday is.
That's why I didn't know it was your birthday, because I haven't used my brain.
That's
for that
messed up.
Part of the knowledge.
Fact that I suppose
ages, I don't need to worry about that, because this little box
will
tell me when that is, and that's great. I mean, I've got a decent memory, and I remember lots of other stuff. But I do appreciate having that, especially for friends I don't see very often, or like I've got friends in like Brazil or Spain or whatever like this that I never get to talk to very often, or him in New Zealand or whatever. But thanks to social media, I feel like I've got a way to him and a little viewpoint into his life. As much as I moan about people taking selfies all the time, but I can see what he's up to a little bit, and or what friends are up to, or whoever's up to, and so that's the benefit of it. But I just feel like, you know, you take the benefits and just leave it there. You kind of go, all right, I've taken everything I need from that.
Yeah, everything in moderation, like you say.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, yeah, so what's the plan then? We're going to do this every few weeks, every week?
We're going to be doing this every single week, I think it is, or considering how busy your schedules are. I'm probably going to say...
Mostly your schedule, mate.
What do you mean, mate? I'm in writing mode, mate. I'm not doing...
Oh, yeah, you're around for a bit.
Yeah, I'm about. And we're going to talk about things that matter to us, things that matter to you guys, things that we like, i.e. be music, fashion...
Are we back in?
My socks, yeah. I reckon things like this are important to have about. If not just generally for other people to be able to have an insight into other people's opinions and stuff, but generally for conversation and trading knowledge, really. What do you think?
Joke is, we used to talk about just recording ourselves talk years and years ago.
Yeah.
Like, at least.
Yeah, but that's because mainly...
Well, you know, but still... We used to talk about it.
Because,
To actually turn around and start
things that
doing
shall not be mentioned upon this podcast. There are reasons why we enjoyed conversations with ourselves.
And we couldn't remember half the conversations we had.
And that was the reason why, because we couldn't goddamn remember.
Yeah, but we were very young back then. Now
we had the greatest chat, man. We had the greatest. I sound like...
you sound like Trump. What was that?
It was the greatest, most great talk ever. We were talking. It was great. Most great, the greatest I've ever had conversation.
I think we should make the whole podcast just you speaking like that for the whole time.
Trump.
Yeah, or at least for one of them come in and speak like that.
You will lose your
No,
mind.
but yeah, we used to forget. That was an idea. So technically, what you're saying is we invented the whole idea.
I think, I'm claiming that.
So you're saying you invented the idea of the podcast?
But we never actually did it.
Not me. I've not.
Don't you got to own that shit? You just put that out there.
It came out of your mouth mostly.
Yeah, but you insinuated.
I insinuated, but you went full on and said, yeah.
Either way, for both of you, whoever has invented the idea of the podcast. This particular podcast has been a lot of fun to record. I am Irrationale, and this is Bobby Kane and Vino Verez White. And this has been episode 1. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.